While the westward expansion era might have its downs, such as creating more issues with slavery, the era as a whole had a positive impact on the United States because of the significant land gains and the acquisition of more resources like oil and arable land. On July 4th, 1776, the United States declared independence from the British Empire. The young nation had only the land of the 13 colonies established over the previous century. In 1783, the American Revolutionary War came to a close due to the signing of the Treaty of Paris. The United States wanted more land after its independence, so it decided to claim all the land south of Canada, north of Florida, and through the said lake to the most northwestern point thereof, and from thence on a due west course to the river Mississippi. This was the first land expansion of the United States, and this was a good thing for the young nation because it solved land disputes with Britain. While the United States and France had their fair share of problems, the two countries still negotiated on a new land game for America in the early 1800s. Due to the Napoleonic Wars occurring in Europe, France was inclined to sell Louisiana to pay for funds to continue the war. Thomas Jefferson seized this opportunity and started negotiations with Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte of France. The territory was bought in 1803 for $15 million, an insanely cheap purchase for the vast scale of land. This purchase was a good thing for the United States because the purchase doubled the size of the United States, greatly strengthened the country materially and strategically, provided a powerful impetus to the westward expansion, confirmed the doctrine of implied powers of the federal Constitution. In other words, the purchase increased the land of the United States exponentially, giving it access to resources in the region. It also started the phenomenon known as manifest destiny. Since America had such an increase in land, many people thought that they now had the God-given right to conquer all the land from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Throughout the 1800s and 1810s, tensions between the United States and the British Empire were increasing again due to things like impressments. In 1812, the United States declared a war on the British Empire again. Manifest destiny was also a major motivator in the war, as the United States also wished to claim Canada as its own. The war ended in July 1815, and no borders changed. Throughout the early 1800s, many slaves were escaping south to Florida. Plantation owners were angered by this, so they wanted the U.S. to own the territory. Owning Florida would also have strategic importance due to its location at one of the ends of the Gulf of Mexico. In 1819, the United States and Spain signed the Adams-Onis Treaty. The treaty gave the United States all the territory situated to the eastward of the Mississippi, known by the name of East and West Florida. The results were positive because the U.S. secured control of the northern end of the Gulf of Mexico and gained access to coastal ports and cities. However, some of the motivations behind it were not morally correct today because slavery was the main motivation of acquiring the territory. While the Louisiana Purchase was the greatest percent land increase for the country, James Knox Polk gained the most area for the country under his presidency. Polk was a symbol of manifest destiny because he got Texas, Oregon, and the Mexican secession for America. In 1836, the Republic of Texas declared its independence from Mexico. The country was in crippling debt, so it sought to join the United States to help relieve its debts. However, America was initially hesitant to claim Texas because it would be a slave state, and would upset the fragile balance between slave and free states. Texas and Mexico also couldn't agree on a border, making America hesitant to get Texas. Almost 10 years after its independence, Texas was annexed by the United States on December 29, 1845. Polk agreed with Texas' boundaries with Mexico. Mexico didn't recognize the border, so they sent a few soldiers to the area to establish control. The U.S. sent soldiers in retaliation, starting the Mexican-American War. However, the annexation was good for Texas because it relieved its debts. It was also good for America because of the land increase, fertile land for cash crop growth, and discovery of resources such as oil. However, it also lengthened the issue of slavery due to Texas's admission as a slave state. The Mexican-American War was short and one-sided, ending only 2 years later. Polk demanded land almost down to Mexico City, but eventually settled for the border to be between Upper and Lower California to the Pacific Ocean. This was all the land from the Rio Grande south of Oregon, and north of Baja California. This was a positive for the United States because it had secured a large coast in the Pacific and gave a huge amount of land in the West. However, it also added more problems with slavery because California had land both above and below the Missouri Compromise line. After the acquisition of Louisiana in 1803, the United States claimed Oregon Territory for itself, along with several other countries. Spain and Russia let go of their claims later, so only America and Britain claimed the territory. During Polk's presidency, the U.S. and Britain created the Oregon Treaty, which gave America the land under the 49th parallel and Britain the land above it. It turned out to be good for the two countries because it settled their land disputes. After California started to gain population, the United States wished to build a railroad across the country. However, the land in the south was too dangerous to be built in. To solve this issue, the U.S. bought a small amount of land from Mexico. This was called the Gadsden Purchase. This was a good thing for the country because it allowed the transcontinental railroad to be built. The Gadsden Purchase was the last acquisition of land in the contiguous 48 states. There were a few other land expansions for the country, such as the Alaska Purchase and the annexation of Hawaii, but they aren't generally included in the era. While there were some downs to the Western expansion era, like propelling the country towards a civil war, it was mainly positive because the land gains were extremely large, which could be used to grow crops, settle people, or for other uses, and it gave America access to large resource reserves.